folks who are. And please let me know if you're having trouble seeing the slides. I had tried to put it into presentation mode right before everybody jumped on, and that is what made the presentation freeze. So I'm a little bit hesitant to do that again. But we'll go through the agenda. We're going to do a short round of introductions so that everyone knows who's on the call here. And we can be sort of introduced to what regions and industries are represented here today. The BCPC team will go through a quick round of regional updates. We've got some information about CASIF applications, ACP events coming up this weekend, a little synopsis of what's happening in each of the 3 counties of our region, and then go into some information about the June 1st Digital Equity BEAD working meeting. And I'll share some information about why we need your input and presence at that meeting in June. Then rather than talk separately about all of the different pillars of our broadband consortium, infrastructure, inclusion, and innovation, we thought that we would focus the discussion and really invite your participation to discuss how workforce needs for broadband deployment, but then also for broadband jobs that need broadband. How is our region prepared for this? How are we ready to go? Do we need to start talking with each other about training and education programs? And how can we build a pretty collaborative environment through our consortium work to make sure that we're ready when the BEAD funding does come down and when the funding sources come down for actually implementing and deploying broadband and preparing our communities. So for introductions, I'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen so that we can see each other. If you could please share your name, your organization and the role in that organization, and your coverage area. What areas do you serve in the Tri-County region and what industry? So I will stop sharing my screen. Shelby Arthur, Tri-County Coordinator, and I'm centered in Santa Barbara County. So the point person for broadband consortium for Santa Barbara County. And I'll go ahead and jump over to Bill, if you would please share your info.
Bill Simmons, also with the Broadband Consortia, working primarily in the Ventura County area. And I do have a specific interest in the innovation pillar of the consortia. And to my right is Michael Foote.
Hello, everybody. I'm Michael Foote with REACH, project manager, and we represent through the BCPC the San Luis Obispo County.
Thank you. And Tim Tierney, would you also introduce yourself?
Yes, hello, everybody. My name is Tim Tierney, doing GIS support for Broadband Consortium.
Thanks, Tim. And then I'm just going to go through my screen and call on people. Chris Sherwin.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Chris Sherwin, CIO for the County of Santa Barbara.
Thank you. And Ish, are you there?
Hey, Shelby. Good to see
you.
So Ismael Perez Ulloa, Director of Community Partnerships out of the Carpinteria Children's Project. As the name says, we serve the city of Carpinteria and we provide family services through our Family Resource Center and early childhood education for our youngest kids.
Thanks for being here. Jamie Fall.
Hi, Shelby. Hi, everyone. Jamie Fall, Workforce and Economic Strategies Director for the Ventura County EDC, and I lead our digital upskilling initiative. Thank you.
Thank you. Alma, you're up.
Morning, everyone. Alma Hanabahab, Business Services Strategist with Santa Barbara County Workforce Development Board.
Thanks for being here, Alma. Brian Chong.
Brian Chong with the City of Moore Park City Manager's Office, working on broadband efforts here. I do have a conflict starting at noon, but I'll be watching the recording afterwards for what I miss.
Great. Thank you for being here. Stephen Sawyer.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Stephen Sawyer, Director of Government Affairs for Charter Communications, also known as Spectrum.
Thank you. And Ken Nye.
Hello, I'm with SurfNet Communications, and we're ISP that goes from Santa Cruz down to Santa Maria, and hopefully getting good information from here.
And then I have Frank Suze. Oh, you're muted.
Hi, Frank Suits. I live in Solvang, grew up in Goleta. I've been in the networking industry since the mid 80s. UCSB was one of the first nodes in the ARPANET, and I was working with one of those companies. Last 20 years, I've been working exclusively with broadband service providers throughout California and the West, both from the equipment and service provider side. Thank you.
Thank you. And Josh Urquiaga.
Hi, I'm Josh Urquiaga. I'm with the City of San Luis Obispo in the IT department, and I'm leading our broadband planning efforts for the city.
You, Jamie Fleming.
Jamie Fleming, representing the city of Ojai.
Thank you. Elaine Weber.
Hi, I'm Elaine Weber. I'm with Lompoc Unified School District. I'm the administrator of the Adult School and Career Center, and I'm on the executive board of the Allen Hancock and Lompoc Unified Adult Education Consortium.
Great. Thanks for being here. John Meredith. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. I'm John Meredith. I work for the County of Santa Barbara. I'm a network technician supporting the County of Santa Barbara.
Great. Harry Gray.
Hi, Kerry Gray. I'm the project lead for the Northern Santa Barbara County Fiber Ring Strategy and Business Plan.
Thank you. Miguel Perez. Sorry, I know you just took a sip of water. You were next on my list. Miguel, that you sounded like Chip and Dale to the rest of us. I'm not sure what you did there, but if you're having sound trouble, feel free to put it in the chat. Your introduction. Jeffrey Mayerchuk.
Good morning, everybody. I'm the Chief Information Officer for the City of Santa Maria.
Thank you. George Amendola.
Hi, good morning, everyone. George Amendola, resident of Ventura, and involved with digital transformation projects. My company, Syncrasy Dynamics, syncrasy.io is the website. And I'm a longstanding member of the Broadband Consortium with Bill. For those from Santa Barbara, I was the 5th employee at a company called Star Telecommunications and a former officer of Star.
Thank you. Jory Wolf.
Morning, everyone. Jory Wolf, VP of Digital Innovation, Magellan Advisors, assisting cities, counties, and public utility districts in the states of Washington, Oregon, California, Arizona, and Nevada in uplifting their communities through broadband.
Thank you. Alan Casares.
Good morning, everyone. Alan Casares with the San Luis Obispo Council of Governments, the MPO of San Luis Obispo County.
Thank you. And Rebecca Evans.
Rebecca Evans, Executive Director of the Workforce Development Board of Ventura County. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sasha Burrows, welcome. Great to have you here.
Nice to be here. Hey, everybody. Sasha Burrows. I'm a project management analyst working with Magellan and Jory, focusing on the West Coast and the Ventura County region.
And former BCPC staffer. Miguel, do you want to give it a shot one more time? You're lined up on the screen here.
Yeah, thank you, Shelby. Miguel Perez, I am the administration intern here at the City of Santa Paula, and I reside in the city manager's office. Happy to be here.
Paul Chenet.
Let me get my video. I'm Paul Chenet. I'm an ambassador with the Blue Sky Center in New Cuyama, California, and we're a economic development nonprofit, and I advocate for broadband in the Cuyama Valley.
Welcome. And I have Kristen Hughes next.
Hello, I'm a pediatrician with the Santa Barbara Public Health Department.
Thank you for being here. Dondi Lawrence.
I hope guests are welcome.
Yes.
So I've actually only been a member of the our San Joaquin Broadband Consortium for a month. I'm new to my position, 2 months now here at Merced College. And I think what happened was when I was looking for the consortium that we land in, I came across BCPC and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna plug that in. And so anyway, I figured, you know what, it was on my calendar. I had the availability. And so if guests are welcome, then I can just glean any information that may be applicable to our area. And I appreciate everyone being here. And yeah, that's it.
That's fantastic.
Gandhi, I'll have to introduce you to Mark and Lindsay over at the county of Merced that are working on their broadband plan right now.
Wonderful.
See, we love regional collaboration over here. I'm going to go for Kurt Dennett next. Kurt?
Hi, yeah, Shelby. I'm Kurt Dennett. I'm the VP of Technology and Infrastructure at a nonprofit called PathPoint. We're in 5 counties in Southern California, and I'm also a resident of Los Alamos and interested in the broadband in Los Alamos.
Great, thanks for being here, Kurt. Will Morat? Morat?
Hi, I'm Will Morat with Magellan Advisors as well. I'm working with San Luis Obispo, the city, as well as Ventura County within the region. Thanks.
Thank you. Cynthia Avila?
Hi, this is actually Colleen Smith. I'm sitting in for Cynthia. I can change my name.
Okay.
Cynthia is the Business Solutions Manager for the Workforce Development Board of Ventura County, and I am the Business Solutions Specialist for the Workforce Development Board of Ventura County. So thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. And the last person on my screen is Lisa Ludovici.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Sorry, I was a little bit late, so I wound up last, but I'm Lisa Ludovici, Director of Government Affairs for Charter Communications, also known as Spectrum. Thanks, Shelby.
Thank you for being here. Normally we probably wouldn't take so much time with introductions, but since we're having a conversation today that I think brings in players that maybe haven't joined the consortium before, joined our meetings before, I thought it was important for us to do this little quick update of names and roles and organizations. So we'll head straight into our next agenda item to provide some regional update. CPUC, which regulates the CASF funding, it has been working busily to update deadlines and projects. So we'll go over some of the new deadlines and changes to some of their CASF grant programs. But I did want to bring to everyone's attention that they had their annual public meeting. This was last Monday, and it is quite a marathon of a meeting to watch, but it is recorded. And they did a decent job of providing some updates about their rollout of different grant programs, an update about their work towards developing a statewide digital equity plan. And they also provided quite a long panel about digital equity and adoption initiatives that have been funded through CASF. So as well as LADA grant recipients, folks who have actually received LADA grants, how they've been working on them, inclusive of tribal grants that have been dispersed and how those communities are utilizing CPUC support to further broadband deployment in their areas. So it is linked in our slides, and I'll put the link in the chat here, but I do encourage you to check it out and look for some of those same updates. I'm going to pass it over to Michael for a couple updates on the infrastructure side.
Yeah, just on the CASF infrastructure account application, the deadline got extended to June 1st. I can drop some of the info from that on the chat. I'll do that in just a second. And then for the LADA grant, funding has been suspended. I know the city of Paso, Tascadero, and San Luis Obispo have already received their award notices, but the LADA program exceeded the 45 million that was already allocated. So It has been suspended at this point. And I'll drop info for that in the chat as well.
Yeah, and I would add to that, we have heard from CPUC that they are interested in continuing that funding, but it's a process for extending and renewing it. So the people who already submitted their grant applications are still under consideration, but they're not accepting new grants applications at this time.
And one additional item there too is that they have not filled all of the budget set aside for tribal organizations. There's still $4.2 million for tribal entities that can still apply.
Thank you for that, Joy. I missed that note.
Thanks, Joy, for adding that. Bill, do you want to take the next two?
Yeah, I'm sure I can do that. Last mile funding is the big kahuna as far as I'm concerned. It is really what I'm looking at a timeline that where the application window would be starting in the mid-June timeframe. It's about $2 billion statewide that's been allocated between the rural and the urban areas. If you look at the portion of in San Luis Obispo, an unserved population of 10,575 have been identified for $22 million heading in this direction. In Santa Barbara County, we're looking at 6,627 unserved, and that fair share allocation is 15,870,000 and some change. And then in Ventura County, for 9,365 unserved, about 20 million, 362,000 and change has been set aside. Big dollars, which is really where where Shelby is driving the conversation for workforce development, where I've been passionate about infrastructure, where we're all trying to get ready for this in the second half of this year. Putting the applications together, the collaborations that are going to be required, building the teams and approaching this at a regional perspective. It is what we're trying to do. And so we have a white paper that we'll be sharing with you in the weeks to come that we've started. It talks about process, how you can take the middle mile, take the last mile, take digital equity and all of the pieces and parts, infrastructure and people and adoption and deployment, and try to integrate across all of the groups that are part of this. It's going to be an exciting time to have these discussions in the months to come. And so what's significant, I think, is the June 1st timeframe is the new deadline. And I think that I know, having talked to folks at CPUC, they're working very, very hard to keep it on time. So, Jory, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
I'm uncertain, Shelby, if you're going to go into the new priorities map that the CPUC has come out with.
I think it's time to do that. What I will say is that we have had a lot of questions from ISPs about that map, and we have a meeting this afternoon with other consortia and CPUC to clarify a lot of information around the priorities map. But Jory, I would be interested in hearing, I think we would all be interested in hearing your observations about it, and we'll be able to share out more information that we learned this afternoon after we have that meeting.
Yeah, certainly. For those of you who are interested, the state has changed their mind yet again in terms of its understanding of broadband adoption. And what was put out about a month and a half to 2 months ago, which was a priority areas map, which is based upon the FCC mappings that came out in November of 2022, the state has retracted that temporary map and replaced it now with mappings that reflects not only broadband or lack of broadband adoption, but also other vulnerabilities for neighbors and communities, neighborhoods and communities. Those vulnerabilities include social vulnerability, income indexes, and economic and environmental vulnerabilities, as well as disadvantaged neighborhoods. So the definition of broadband of unserved and underserved has been redefined by the state, which means that if you looked at your priorities mappings in preparation to apply for last mile about a month ago, that's all out the window. Take a look, do a search on CPUC priority areas map, and you will find the state's new mappings and what was or did appear to be neighborhoods and communities that weren't eligible to apply are now eligible to apply. So very encouraging news. Please take a look.
And we can pop that link in the chat as well. I don't know if one of my team members can do that while I'm sharing my screen. But it is worth reviewing. And if you have specific questions about it, feel free to reach out to us at the Broadband Consortium. We have a meeting this afternoon, so hopefully we'll have more clarity around some of the questions we've already received. Great.
So
Jill, do you want to?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I'll finish just talking about the surprise for me. I wasn't expecting the announcement from USDA Rural Development yesterday for broadband technical assistance funding. And there's 20 million available. The applications are due June 20th. Project planning and community engagement, financial sustainability, environmental compliance, construction planning and engineering, accessing federal resources, data collection and reporting. It's similar to LADA perhaps in terms of its intent, but I think it's specifically targeted to USD areas. What originally came to mind when I was reading this was Cuyama, Paul. So just planting the seed, and if there's anybody wants more information on this particular funding source, we can send the email that we got from USDA and link it as well to the website. And so I'll see after we get done here, putting it in the chat as well.
Yes, Jory.
Just one other comment about CASF. I think it's very important. Of course, it's near and dear to all of our hearts about infrastructure grant funding from CASF. But I think we all understand that adoption is also very critical when we go about doing our work in uplifting communities. And so besides the infrastructure fund within CASF, there is housing funds within CASF. There are actually 5 categories, but the 2 most important that I believe for all of you are going to be the infrastructure money from CASF, but in addition to infrastructure is the adoption program, because we can all build these networks, but if they don't come and they don't feed on these networks, then we built for nothing. So it's really, I think, very important for you all, not just to go after infrastructure money through CASF now that it's been extended to June 1st, but also go after adoption money through CASF.
Thank you, Jory. That's perfect feeding into our last bullet point under the CASF grant list here. Public housing and CASF adoption grants are both due July 1st. In Santa Barbara County, the Digital Equity Coalition has been coordinating with several CBOs to sort of try to coordinate our adoption grant application priorities. And I think Ventura County is starting that conversation as well. Adoption grants can be used for improving broadband access. So that anything that is, for example, an after-school program that needs to improve infrastructure or do community outreach to make sure people know how to access their local, resources or community centers. And they also can fund digital literacy programs. So if you have a digital literacy program that's already existing, or you'd like to develop one that targets one of the underserved communities or disadvantaged communities, adoption grants can also be used for digital literacy programs. And then finally, also for call centers. So if there is a project that would serve disadvantaged communities or really just underserved communities, for a call center for technical assistance, community technical assistance, then that is also something you can utilize an adoption grant for. In terms of public, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt. Please finish.
I was switching over to public housing. Is this
before we move on, I think it's really very back on adoption. Please know that in the infrastructure grants for CASF, but also the LADA, the last mile grants, the 1 billion for urban and the 1 billion for rural, do call out for low cost and discounted programs. And so you really need to focus on getting adoption money, and adoption is very key in meeting the requirements of last mile and for CASF infrastructure, because it's a requirement. It is there will be clawbacks if you don't reach if you don't provide these services, and you don't effectively reach to those who are unserved and underserved, even though you've actually built the infrastructure. So please know that that this money is available. Go after it, because it is tied, the requirements are tied to the infrastructure money that you're going to get. Only 18% of Californians who are qualified are actually subscribing to ACP. We've got to do better.
Yeah, and we have some information actually that I can share about ACP enrollments in our region. We do have it broken out by zip code, and some of our communities are doing great with ACP enrollments, but there are some communities that have very low ACP enrollment rates, and we can talk a little bit about that. Just to wrap up before we move to ACP, the public housing grant is also due July 1st. Our Tri-County region has had several projects approved in the last year for this grant funding. So, we have partners that have been successful in applying for these grants. If you are interested in pursuing something that would serve public housing units, please feel free to reach out, and we can help connect you with people who have been successful in those applications. We do have two ACP enrollment events coming, 3 ACP enrollment events coming up this Saturday. So CETF, the California Emerging Technologies Fund, has been coordinating statewide enrollment events so that we can pool our resources in terms of marketing and outreach and social media marketing. And they have been supporting the publicity of these statewide enrollment events. The Thousand Oaks Library will be holding an ACP enrollment event in Ventura County. AGIF, the American GI Forum in Santa Maria, it's in the northern part of Santa Maria, will be holding an enrollment event in their facility. And the San Luis Obispo County Boys and Girls Club will be holding an enrollment event as well, with the support of AGIF. So this is an opportunity for households who are eligible to get hands-on support, verifying their eligibility for the Affordable Connectivity Program. If you don't know what that is, the Affordable Connectivity Program is a federal subsidy that provides a $30 subsidy for an internet plan, which you are eligible for if you're eligible for other low-income programs such as CalFresh, such as WIC, such as SNAP benefits. If you are on a Pell Grant or your household is on a Pell Grant, if you have a veteran's pension or a survivor's benefit, these folks are all also eligible for the Affordable Connectivity Program. It's a great opportunity to help people get a discount on their internet plan, and in some cases make internet free for their household. It also includes a $75 subsidy if the household is on qualifying tribal lands, and it does include a $100 subsidy on the cost of a device, a large screen device for the home. So this is a federally funded program through the FCC, and it is possible to enroll online if a household can manage or navigate that process. But if they need hands-on support, these 3 events this Saturday will be able to help people in person. If you're an organization who would like to get involved in providing ACP enrollment support to your constituents, please reach out to us. We'd be happy to connect you with training materials, with digital marketing materials that you can use for outreach in your communities. And you can become enrollment specialists to help improve the ACP enrollment rates in your community. Really quickly, I'll see if I can open up this spreadsheet or if it'll. So we've received this update, and this is the latest update we have. It runs through February 2023 for household enrollment in each county in our region. This column right here, percentage HH eligible, these are the percentage of households in this zip code that are eligible for ACP. If you scroll down to the end of the row here, you'll see that there are 26% of those 27% of households that are actually enrolled in ACP. The numbers have jumped significantly in some communities. And the reason these are highlighted is that the Broadband Consortium became involved in supporting and promoting these outreach events starting in August 2022. So we have been tracking the increase in terms of increased enrollments based on our involvement. But really, our involvement is to support organizations that are doing the work. So the hard work of actually connecting with people in the communities, explaining how internet access is going to improve their economic and educational opportunities, and then helping them navigate the process of enrolling in ACP and then enrolling in an internet plan. That hard work is being done by our local organizations, both government organizations and CBOs, as well as ISPs have been doing this work. So I did want to congratulate those of you who are working in some of these communities on your efforts to improve the ACP enrollment rates. As Jory mentioned, statewide, the rates aren't super high for enrollment, but they are improving. They are getting better. So we appreciate everyone's efforts. The last thing for a regional update that I'll share is a copy of this map. We met with Caltrans District 5 last week. I know that that does not necessarily apply to Ventura County, but we were provided an updated middle mile map. We were dismayed to learn that several sections of the previously planned middle mile build have been removed from that map. We have been reassured that the map is always changing. This map is as of April 14th and should not be considered permanent. But what I will say is that the outcry of the removal of certain routes along this middle mile map has actually spurred advocacy from local government officials and government organizations lobbying efforts. So I think it was important for us to know this information so we could say something, right? If you see something, say something. So we will be scheduling another Caltrans District 5 meeting in July to get another update for this same district. And we are working with Golden State Network to set up another meeting. They had to cancel last minute last week, so we are hopeful to get a different update maybe set for May, and we'll reach out to the relevant parties who should be involved in that meeting. We can share the map out with the folks on this meeting with the caveat that it is subject to change. It is a draft map and should be reevaluated and re-verified before sharing outside of our immediate work efforts. Anyone want to add to that? Great. Okay.
I have a question. This is Frank. Do the blue lines mean that there's a fiber route planned for those sections?
Yes, and I see that that's cut off here. I can't remember what that was signifying. Bill, do you remember? It was the type of build. So the difference between the yellow and the blue. I'll take a look. I'll take a look at the bigger map. Actually,
you're absolutely correct in terms of how Caltrans was going to manage it. It was those were fiber builds. Some of them were going to be in-house managed by Caltrans. The other ones were going to be contractor managed, or some acronym that they were using.
Yeah, I'll pull up the actual map here and share that document.
This is John Meredith. That yellow line is the job order contract, they called it.
There it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great. I'm going to come back into the presentation. And again, we can share that. If you shoot me an email requesting a copy of the Caltrans map, I'd be happy to share it with you. All right. If there's no more questions about the regional updates, I'm going to go into our final regional update, which is the Digital Equity BEAD statewide digital equity planning meeting. This is a working meeting that's being coordinated by CPUC and the Department of Technology, and CETF. They are working with our consortium along with several partners from across the three counties to plan, organize, and do outreach to request your attendance and involvement in this meeting. For those of you who don't know, BEAD funding stands for Broadband, Broadband Equity Access and Deployment. And it's, almost $42.5 billion that's going to be dispersed nationwide to states and territories. In order for states to receive this money, they have to write a 5-year digital equity action plan. And so the state of California is currently working on gathering data and information and really trying to do localized outreach in order to build this digital equity plan. They are holding 20 meetings across the state of California, and that they're calling regional local meetings. It's a little confusing, but that's the terminology they're using. And we are hosting one of them in the Tri-County area. Ours will be held June 1st at the Veterans Community Center in Santa Maria. I know that's quite a drive for some of you to come from Ventura or to come from San Luis Obispo. So we're hoping that you will find enough use to make that trek. We tried to find a place that was a little more centralized so that we didn't put out anyone disproportionately. So it will be at the Veterans Community Center. I will put the link for registering for this meeting in the chat, or maybe one of my team members here can throw that in the chat. I think Alan, you might have it actually, if you want to put it up. So what are these meetings about? These meetings have a really jam-packed agenda. They will have people from the state level coming to talk about what this plan is for, what they've learned so far, and what their process is for developing this plan. It will be a working meeting. So we are currently identifying panelists who can share their experiences. These are panelists who are part of the 8 target groups that the state of California is using to organize their digital equity efforts in order to center the people who are often the most marginalized when it comes to digital equity. The conversations that we have there will be organized and documented. So what we are asking of all of the folks on this meeting, including ISPs, government officials, CBOs, educators, trainers, all the folks, workforce development, everyone who's here that is, at all involved in the broadband space, we're asking you to attend to contribute to your experience, your knowledge, and your input into this gathering of information for the statewide digital equity plan. It will all feed up into the statewide plan, which will then be eligible for the money, which will then feed down back into our local communities. So we want to be reflected. There will be, in addition to the working group meetings, there will be a Caltrans CPUC CDT working session. We have been told, and of course, everything has the caveat, it's subject to change, but we have been told that this working session will provide like a foam model map of their current middle mile work and their plans. And we'll ask for your input into where you'd like to connect into that map, where your priorities are as communities, and share your observations based on what their current plans were. There will also be a breakout session for people who are interested in learning more about ACP and becoming enrollment specialists, or sending someone from your organization to learn more about how to be an enrollment specialist for the Affordable Connectivity Program. So we will have those 2 breakout sessions as well. Big thanks to the Santa Barbara Foundation for their support, to the Ventura County Community Foundation for their support, and to SlowCog for their support in planning this event, sponsoring this event with your time, with food, with childcare. So we really appreciate the involvement of those core entities, and we really encourage everyone else that's on this call to talk about this meeting and invite the people that you think need to be at the table when we're talking about digital equity. Any questions about the meeting? Okay. Another way you can get involved is to attend an outcome area working group. There are 6 working groups, people who are professionals in health, education, inclusion, accessibility, economic development, and there will also be a tribal working group. These are almost monthly meetings that are being held online, where they are centering the discussion around the specific issues pertaining to those industries. So you can register to join the appropriate meeting, and then also use the DEAM tool. This is in our newsletter. The DEAM tool is an ecosystem mapping tool to determine what are the programs and services that are promoting digital equity, who are the target communities that are being served, who's not being served, and where are these programs located? You know, what are the geographic regions that they're serving? So these are 3 different ways to get involved in shaping this digital equity action plan, and we encourage you to participate. Any questions? Thanks for listening to me talk for so long. We're going to move into the discussion where everyone gets to participate. The reason that we are here really, besides these updates, is to really talk about our readiness in the broadband space in order to receive all these fundings to actually use the money and deploy them. So I'm hoping that, we can open up the conversation to talk about what are the industry needs for actually deploying broadband, whether that is from design to construction to tech support, to talk about some of the current initiatives that are here around the county, around the Tri-County area, that will serve or be served by broadband deployment, and to talk about what are the programs that we may need to develop, right? How can we build a cohesive strategy together so that we know that our region is ready to receive these funds and utilize them along the timeline. The BEAD funding permits states to use that funding for broadband deployment, for mapping, and for adoption efforts. That is where you feed in that digital literacy piece and the outreach to ensure people are connected. It can include workforce development programs. I'm going to open up the conversation. If anyone would like to jump in, please feel free to do so. But let's start by talking about industry. What are the different industry needs in terms of workforce for broadband deployment?
I would make a suggestion that training for technology utilization, such as configuring routers, switches, etc., would be valuable, in addition to some basic Linux or Microsoft type of programming.
Thank you. And George, do you, in your experience, when you are working with folks who do that work, have they learned that through experience, being hired and trained on the job? Are they learning that through education programs, through training, through apprenticeships?
I think it depends on the role. I mean, many people in computer technology have been working with computers, since they were in grade school, and they have evolved through their education process traditionally through possibly undergraduate or graduate or master's or doctorate programs. However, in the workforce, technical programs have been very beneficial for engineers, et cetera, or technology jobs, as well as certifications put out by Microsoft or Google or AWS or even, you know, like undergraduate, et cetera, with DeVry technology. I do know that the Economic Development Collaborative in Ventura has been promoting some digital upskilling in partnership with a local business called GBL. So I think these things are all valuable. And for 6-7 years, I've been a big proponent of digital upskilling within the local community of Ventura, so that many of the people who have grown up in this community aren't left behind, because there is a trend of importing talent from other states into this community. So I'm a big proponent of digital upskilling, and I hope that it can really mature into these communities.
Thank you, George. And I know, Jamie, you're on this call. Did you, I think Jamie's still here. Did you want to jump in about and just give people some information about the digital upskilling program?
Hi, Shelby. I'd be happy to. Thank you. And thank you, George. I appreciate the shout out there. As part of the EDC, we're doing digital upskilling, and we're trying to serve 3 different groups. The group that George mentioned is digital upskilling for people who are already in the workforce, but they need perhaps an additional certification to help them move up in their careers. So we've partnered with GBL to do AWS cloud certifications. We've also partnered with CompTIA, and we're going to be rolling out in the next week or so some A+ and Security Plus training for those certificates. And then another group we're trying to serve are really people who have been left behind in digital skills. They don't really know how to use a computer and really have some basic digital needs. Shelby, what we found there is that just so many jobs since 2020 have moved to some form of, you know, whether it's a Zoom call or just their HR system is online. People need some basic digital skills in order to be even able to get a job, right? You have to apply for a job online now. You probably do go through a round of interviews online. So we've worked with all of the adult schools in Ventura County to come up with one curriculum. We've piloted it. We had an evaluation done by WestEd. We've revised the curriculum, and we're rolling it out in 7 locations in April and May for that training. And then the last one I would mention quickly is digital upskilling for people who have a business, but they need to be able to get that business online and begin marketing online. We partnered with Weave, who has developed our curriculum for us, and they're rolling out that training. And I believe this week is actually the first week of training in that class. Our class is full. There's now a wait list, and we'll be doing more training in the fall. We're looking at other areas in the state that we can roll these programs out to. The curriculum is available for free for the computer basics course and the Get Your Business Online. And anyway, happy to share more details as needed. Thank you, Shelby, for the chance.
Thanks, Jamie.
You know, I would just add, and thank you, Jamie, having one of those certifications like the CompTIA certification is a great addition to anybody's resume. And it's almost essential now within the HR requirements for certain job positions. And so I think that the opportunity through the EDC is fantastic for these communities and anybody interested in pursuing those careers.
We're really thrilled to get the funding through the Assembly member Jackie Irwin helped secure our funding. It's a 3-year program. It is a pilot, and we do hope to expand it to other areas. A lot of the training is available in both English and Spanish. I should have said that earlier and didn't. And certainly if there are other languages, we need to expand that too as well. And thanks to Rebecca, who I think I saw on the call earlier, the workforce board, we're trying to do more that we can get the word out about some of the opportunities that they have as well. They have some additional online training for people who don't find what's if they go on our website, for example, and don't find exactly what they're looking for, the Workforce Board has a number of other opportunities available as well through Metrics Learning. I don't know if she's still on the call and wants to add in or not, but another really good initiative in Ventura County.
Yes, go ahead, Rebecca, please.
Thank you, and thank you, Jamie. And really appreciate hearing from industry and would like to hear more, because what we do as a workforce development board, and I know there's some folks on from Santa Barbara Workforce Development Board as well, as really try to bring together what's the need of industry and the employers, and then what then is the training needs for the job seekers, those that are going to fill those roles, and convene our education partners and education resources. The digital upskilling project through EDC and those online courses is a great way to meet the needs of employers and job seekers or current workers who enjoy or would be best suited for some online learning opportunities to upskill or to add to what they can provide. Well, what we will need is, I think for this broadband project, is we're going to need to hear from industry more and more specifically. I really appreciate the specificity of what you mentioned would be some of the skills and some of the knowledge that would be needed for this, because we want to make sure we communicate that as soon as possible to our local education providers, as well as online education opportunities. And what Jamie was mentioning is we do have a project through Metrics Learning that offers specific skill training and certifications in addition, and in a variety of industries. So in technology, but also in manufacturing, construction, lots of different areas. And what I think would work really well for our region is if we're able to identify as much as possible what are the skills and the occupations that are going to be part of this broadband rollout. And then what do we already have? What's available through digital upskilling? What's available through Upskill Ventura County through Metrics Learning? What's available at our local K-12, adult ed, community college, universities? And then are there things missing? Because that really is something we've been working on. And what you need to do is what's needed by industry. What do we already have that we can start plugging job seekers and students into to prepare for these jobs? And then what are we missing? And we want to make sure we bring that on. Through the Workforce Development Board, we can determine if a training program is eligible to utilize some of our workforce funds for individuals to get help paying for that education that they're going to need, particularly unemployed adults or dislocated workers, those who have been laid off, or youth who are moving into the workforce. If we know what the certification or the program or the credential is that a person needs, and we know that there are jobs open, we can start to familiarize job seekers with that opportunity, and we have funds to help pay for them to get that training. That's essentially what a Workforce Development Board does. We want to make sure, but we would need to know what is it that's needed. And if we don't have it locally, how do we go about getting that curriculum or that credential or whatever it is? Or can we find it online remotely in a different location? So the more specifically we're able to know what's going to be needed, and it can be a growing list over time, the better we're able to help prepare for that.
I really want to second what Rebecca just said. I think it's really important that not only do you bring in those who are being trained, but you bring in those employers into the conversation about what it is that they need to be trained in. But what's most important about that is not only does it become targeted training, but you get the employer to be able to work with the trainee, and they establish a relationship so that when the training program is completed, the job placement is intact.
I do have something to say about that, since I've been working across the West with broadband development, both for subsidized and BC funded deployments, so overbuilding fiber to the home. Magellan's involved in Connexons, another company like this too. what's happening is the construction firms, the people who actually do the digging, the placement of the conduits and the fiber itself, have a very tough time keeping crews on the job and finding qualified crews. And what does that really mean? They have to understand fiber splicing, they have to understand safety, and the whole mechanics of digging a trench. I saw that map. It's over San Marcos Pass. I can't believe that they've already dug that trench, but whoever is going to dig that trench over San Marcos Pass is going to be a highly skilled technician on a ditch witch or something like that. And the construction firms that will actually bid on that are going to be needing lots and lots of people, because it's not just California, it's all across the country. And not only is there subsidized money from the feds and the states, but there's a lot of VC money coming into this exact same space, competing for the same resources, and there's not that many of them. So I talk to young people, and this is a great career to get into. I'm semi-retired, but this is a wonderful place for a young person to build a career. And I would encourage the community colleges to start becoming a place where you can incubate these skills.
Frank, that is music to my ears. So I started up a youth technology program in the city of Santa Monica back in 2012. And it ran all the way through 2021. We trained over 800 youth who were in high school that went through a program that became coders, started up their own businesses. They had a pitch night and they competed with one another for awards. We had judges. It was a real tech ecosystem. And all of those, I think all but one ended up with job placements. And the one that was with a job placement, did get a job placement, his family moved. But just understand not only what that does for those young people who are seeking jobs to fill these important empty roles, but what does it do for the family? You know, you give them a computer to take home, and it's their siblings then who go through the program in following years. And it's their parents who then start learning computer skills as well. It becomes a complete tech ecosystem, a family goal, and a learning experience. It is not only good for filling jobs, but it's good for digital inclusion and literacy as well.
Could be one other aspect of this, in responding to what Rebecca was saying about specifics. Really, in the near term, within the broadband consortia and the world that we're talking about, one term that's being bounced around a lot is digital navigators. And I can't emphasize enough that this term can't be a buzzword anymore. We've got to be very, very specific about who these people are and what their skill set is and where they're going to be deployed. The digital navigator is going to be part-time techno savvy. They're going to be part-time understanding collaboration and community. They're going to be part-time troubleshooting in terms of the internet and connectivity and deployment and literacy. I mean, it's a multi-skilled job. If every city had 5, and that Ventura County would need 50, you might want to have another 50 in Santa Barbara County and another 50, and that's a nominal number. But these are going to be the first, when the last mile funding comes the end of this year, these are going to be the kinds of people that we need to really turn loose and start building bridges and doing the heavy lifting required to work in these communities. And so getting a handle on, how many of these types of folks are out there, and how fast can we get to them would be a very exciting conversation to engage in.
There's a very effective program underway right now that's been funded by the Fed. It's being run by Alana Alschwang from CSU Dominguez Hills in Southern California. And she's got what are called digital navigators, interns that are actually working in CBOs throughout the disadvantaged neighborhoods in the greater central Los Angeles County area. And they are breaking down barriers, not only in the schools, but also in the neighborhoods, in the parks, and digital video, digital audio trainings, and the like. This is really monumental work. I encourage everyone to look into that. Stuart Bruce over at the County of Solano is also starting up a digital navigator program right now. As a matter of fact, he's got an RFP on the street. You all should take a look at Solano County's digital navigator program RFP. I think it is probably best in class and really setting a good model for the future.
Thank you, Joy.
Shelby, I'd like to jump in at this point if I can share my screen. Am I enabled to do that? Looks like I am.
You should be.
All right. You let me know when you see my screen. I'm trying to hit that button right now. Okay,
Great.
hi guys. This is Tim, the GIS guy, and I had some thoughts on this very topic prepared in advance, which is timely now that Bill's talking about digital navigators, and this is my perspective on that, which would be really a subset, since digital navigator could mean a lot of different things to different people. But I'll address this to Rebecca, since you're in the workforce development end of this. In my view, the people that I hope to be working with as we move forward on this project and get into communal regional planning on where the broadband installation is going to go, and then how do we regionally address matters of digital equity. That's going to involve a conversation, right, amongst all these different parties, because no one wants to be dictated to by the broadband consortium or whomever. Everybody wants to have their voice be heard. And so the voices being heard ideally means that the individual parties, by which I'm thinking of the different municipalities and CBOs organizing in different specific areas, are going to be able to ideally have their hands directly on the data, because all this is ultimately informed by data, map data, indicating facts on the ground as to demographics and economic conditions and that kind of thing. And that means that we need to have a class of people, a certain variety of digital navigator, to use the term that Bill brought up, that is able to directly access, turn the data into stuff that can be fed into conversations. Okay, and so that means that people like that need to have skills in terms of data management, analysis, data presentation. They'd be specific tools they'd be using include, but aren't limited to, spreadsheets, of course, and then going beyond spreadsheets into databases, where you're able to do simple database queries, so that you're not limited to some spreadsheet that someone else prepared and handed to you, but you're getting really into the database, and you can manipulate the data itself. And then in terms of presenting that data, presenting it in dashboard form or in map form, so you can make new data products out of it. Or you can, when you're looking at someone else's dashboard or map, you have enough understanding of it that you can understand assumptions that have gone into the other people's dashboards, and you can understand what a dashboard might be showing you or might not be showing you. And you can look at the other people's data presentation with a critical eye, and all for the ultimate outcome of promoting understanding at your city that you work for, and then coordination between your city, neighboring cities, people at the county, et cetera. And so in my experience doing GIS, a lot at the local government level, what you have all the time is you have the people who are making the decisions, the administration type, right? And they always have, if they're lucky, at their right hand, their data person, who is kind of an extension of them and helping them get into this data, because those skills have not yet made it all the way to the top echelons, in our fast changing society with the fast pace of technology evolution. And so organizations that don't have this this tier of data savvy people are really at a disadvantage. And so to wrap up here, this is something that it is happening. I'm seeing it happening at the educational level, and it needs to keep happening, to keep turning out people who are really able to get their hands onto the data themselves, and not be just limited to someone else's website or someone else's spreadsheet that's been prepared. They need to be more than just a passive consumer of the data. They need to be able to get in there and work with it and make products from it. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim.
Shelby, you can take back the screen, or I'm going to stop sharing.
Yeah, there you go. I'm interested in hearing a little bit more if folks know about you know, current apprenticeship programs that are going to help fulfill this sort of immediate need for workers, for labor force that is going to help build the actual infrastructure. I know that there are opportunities out there to start developing apprenticeships and these types of structures between our organizations. And I'm curious if anyone has any line on sort of what training or apprenticeship opportunities are already out there in our region. And if the answer is silence, then that means that we need to fill that gap, right?
So I've got a little bit of probably an unpopular statement or contribution. I think our local library system is pretty worthless and doesn't serve the community in any meaningful way, especially the taxpaying community. I think people don't want to let go of the library system, so perhaps the libraries can be used to structure some kind of internship to create more productivity within the library system. That's just my opinion. There's a lot of funding available for libraries. I think it's potentially a good mechanism for training, for intern work on a project basis. And because people are very passionate about the issues surrounding libraries, I think it's possibly an untapped opportunity for internships and upskilling.
I'm sorry, I can't speak regionally about the libraries, but libraries should be performing this task. My understanding is libraries have evolved into cultural centers and also training centers for helping people start small businesses and also helping youth understand how to navigate, youth and the elderly, how to navigate the internet. George, I'm really surprised that the local libraries there in the Tri-County area are not up to par on that.
They're
I agree with you
basically become
completely.
homeless shelters.
You know, and I have to disagree.
I understand it's not popular.
I know, and I am trying to like understand what you're seeing that makes it seem that way. What I have found actually is that our library partners are very advanced in the digital literacy for basic needs. So they are focused, they are serving the people who come to them, right? And so they're not necessarily out there developing programs for people who don't show an interest in the library. They are responding to the needs of the people who do use the library as a resource. And so what I see really frequently is interest in being ACP enrollment partners, so partners for low-income households, and in providing the very basic computer entry-level skills so that folks can start to even access all the other resources out there that will build up their skill sets and their access to opportunity. So my experience has been really different throughout Santa Barbara County and even Ventura County in terms of what they're doing. It's just not necessarily in the same, maybe not targeting the same population that you're speaking to.
In all my travels and my work with librarians and directors of libraries for technology, I mean, libraries have been transforming themselves to the digital world over the last 15 years. I mean, they've eliminated the stacks and stacks of periodicals. Nothing is in hard copy anymore, and a lot of materials, almost all materials, are going online. I mean, the library of the future that I was looking at and helping to develop even 10 years ago didn't have any books in it. It was all computers. Everything was online. So I'm really, really taken aback that that's your experience, George. But I believe you that's what you're witnessing. We can always do better, but I see libraries as the champions of this space, and I have seen this, like Shelby says, for at least a decade.
I would
Yeah.
agree with you. There is a lot of great work. I just look at it as a real opportunity to improve. And I would also agree, Shelby, that they do serve their audience. And, you know, specifically in the city of Ventura, the library system is somewhat deficient with, you know, what I would expect as usable for the library at a professional level. It's really become a homeless shelter in many aspects. I would differentiate that the library, the Camarillo Library, is a fantastic library, and it covers a lot of different type of wide audience. But there's a huge contrast, and I know it's unpopular, but I just look at it as a tremendous opportunity, especially with all of the funding opportunities. So anyway, I'll just leave.
You were right. I think you've touched a nerve, George. As much as what you say is provocative, I think it's important for us all to understand we can always do better, and libraries really should become the cultural center, the education center, outside of the school system. And I've witnessed libraries and school districts partner quite significantly on programs, after school programs, literacy on all types of topics. And I really think that more of that needs to happen. School districts and libraries, when they come together, they're really an effective mix of resources, really to change youth and even perspectives on culture, music, theater, and the like within your community. It's not just broadband, but I've seen libraries have quartets and concerts. And I mean, I am just amazed at the work that the librarians have been able to do and how they've converted their thinking.
Yeah. Well, and we do have the libraries involved in the digital equity coalitions that are forming. So hopefully, this information, is going to filter out, and we can filter back in with some of the information that they bring back to us through that channel of the digital equity coalitions. I want to be respectful of our agenda. We have about 15 more minutes of the meeting left, and I wanted to give a platform for folks to share any updates, ask any questions, provide some time for us to use the space for any other topics that you wanted to discuss.
Shelby, I didn't get much of a chance to give a Ventura County update. I did want to, before we lose Jory.
Really, yeah, go for it.
I did want to have Jory maybe give an update on the middle mile and the initiative that's underway in Ventura County, and any update that you might want to share, Jory, about where we're going, what we're trying to do down south here.
Yeah, sure, Bill. Thanks for the cue. So Ventura County now, if you all aren't aware, that they've had a plan for building a broadband open access middle mile network on most of the major highways. And also now, this was actually before even the state middle mile was envisioned. And now that the state middle mile has come to pass, there are some, obviously some relationships between what the state is building and what the county is building. The county did receive almost $500,000 in a LATA award. They're going into design engineering on phase 1A and 1B. They have issued an RFP, and they're just about on Monday about to select a ISP partner from that RFP process that is going to do joint build with them along the 126 and the 118 highways. And it's going to connect the communities of Santa Clarita, Piru, Fillmore, Santa Paula, city of Ventura, and the city of Oxnard and Port Hueneme, all in phase 1 and phase 1B. Again, there's a partner in tow, so they are not only, and they'll have design engineering done when they apply for the last mile funding, which is about $28 million allocated, I think, for Ventura County. And they are going to be successful, in our opinion, to be able to get the last mile to build this infrastructure again, a joint build with an ISP who is going to operate the network and build in kind and provide local match for the county. So this is really a big win in a partnership effort that the county's been able to pull off. What we expect we'll be pulling off as of Monday. Our goal is to have shovels in the ground by November of 2023.
Thank you for that update.
Thank you, Jory. And from a Ventura County standpoint, I just wanted quick updates for LATA funding. The County of Ventura, as Jory said, the City of Ventura and Santa Paula have all received awards of LATA funding. The City of Port Hueneme has got an application in, as does VCOG, the Ventura Council of Governments. From a regional level, we're looking when, hopefully, fingers crossed, funding is received, creation of a regional joint powers group, coming up with a coordinated strategy very similar to what was done in Santa Barbara County, and then getting ready for this last mile funding. That's what we're hoping to do in the next few months. So that's my report today.
Thanks, Bill. Petra, you have your hand up?
Yes, Shelby, thank you. This is Petra Gomez with the Santa Barbara Foundation. I just wanted to provide a friendly reminder that the Digital Equity Coalition of Santa Barbara County is going to have its partners meeting this Monday from 10 to 11. Currently, we're not open to ISPs. It's only nonprofits and educational partners. And so if you're interested in attending, I added my information on the chat. Feel free to send me an email and I will forward you the invite along with the agenda. And our DEC is a Santa Barbara County-wide effort, and its purpose is to align resources, work efforts, and tools to close the digital equity gap. Thank you.
Thank you, Petra.
Hi there. I just wanted to touch on some quick points real quick. So Miguel Perez, I intern for the city of Santa Paula, and just to touch on the point of, you asked for apprenticeships specifically, but I'm luckily here at the city of Santa Paula on behalf of Lead for America. That's an internship program that, you know, we can essentially be located anywhere. Municipalities, nonprofit organizations that, you know, deal with broadband, whether it's big or small, you know, as long as our work is sort of related to that, we can kind of be in-housed anywhere. And they're always looking for host sites to, you know, essentially house one of some really bright interns that just want to work in this space and kind of get the feel for, you know, what local government is, or nonprofit organizations, or any foundation. So while it's not an apprenticeship, but it is something worth looking into if any of you are ever looking to have your own intern at the city. And, you know, just another quick point that I also, Ned Branch was our old executive director for our library, and he was a great resource for us. He was actually one of the first few librarians to get the conversation between one of our local ISPs and our city council. And he got stolen from us. Now he works for, he's the executive director for Ventura County. So, you know, it's sad to see him go, but he's a great resource for Ventura County, and it's exciting for that. So I just wanted to touch on those few points before we wrap up for today.
Miguel, thank you for bringing that up. I've worked with several of your kind, of your folks in Washington and Oregon, and they've done really stellar work. And thank you for joining the city of Santa Paula. Just remember, remind Jonathan to get that RFP out, okay?
I will.
Excellent. Any other announcements or questions? Michael, did you want to share anything from SLO County?
I don't think so. Oh, you know, we did have a broadband and digital equity roundtable on Wednesday, and I know Alan's on the call. I thought maybe he might give a quick update on that and really how that combination of digital equity went. Alan, I see you're maybe coming on screen, not to put you on the spot, but.
No worries. Thank you, Michael. Sorry, my camera looks really dark right now. Don't get much sunlight in this room. But anyways, yeah, as Michael mentioned, we just had our first regional broadband and digital equity roundtable here at San Luis Obispo County. SLOCOG held it here in our office. It went well. We invited a lot of partners from public local agencies and from community-based organizations. At this point in time, our roundtable is not open to ISPs, but in the future, we will be looking to have private public discussions as well. But yeah, it was great. A lot of great information was shared. A lot of great points were made. And I think it showed how important it is to have these regional forums in San Luis Obispo and really drive the direction of where we want to go next. And we talked a lot about access, adoption, and the emerging grants and where we want to be in the future. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the next meeting and continue to have Reach and BCPC participate in those efforts. And yeah, if anyone else from SLO County is on this call that wasn't included and would like to be, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll drop my contact info in the chat. But yeah, really excited for the work that's happening.
I hate to put anybody on the spot, but Josh and Will, you want to talk about your city council meeting?
Excuse me, sure, I can talk about ours real quick. We're in the midst of doing our broadband planning work and developing a broadband plan. We've been working closely with Magellan, mostly Will, but Jory as well. We're appreciative of his insights. We did an update to our council just the beginning of this month, which went really well. They were really pleased with where we're headed. We're looking at probably a public-private partnership model, and so we're working on an RFP now to get out shortly to try to start the selection of a partner, and then looking to leverage some of the assets that the city has wisely invested in over the last 20 years and extend those to be able to extend broadband coverage and access in the city, and hopefully bring an affordability piece into it, which is kind of our biggest struggle. We have providers that are providing coverage, but the affordability piece is still lacking. So that's kind of where we're focused. And I'm very interested in following up with folks on ACP enrollment events. I know that's a thing that our city manager has been interested in potentially us having a bigger role in. And so any information on that, I'd be interested in getting.
Great. Well, we can definitely keep you looped in on that, Josh, on ACP enrollment events. This Saturday at the Boys and Girls Club in San Luis Obispo County, I think we have a flyer. Alan, do you have a flyer already for that event? I think I might be able to flip one over from Maria. All right, great.
Shelby, I just have a comment to make.
Yeah, thanks, Troy.
We're all working together, and I think it's really important in the Tri-County region. Eventually, you are all going to have a common network, and you're going to knit your networks together. They will be interfacing with one another, probably through the state middle mile in many regards. And there will also be other ways in which that they connect to one another that you all will figure out in new pathways to augment what the state is doing. One of the things that I witnessed when I first got into the game of grants, I thought, oh, everyone's competing with one another. But you know what? That's not the case. Actually, the more of you who apply for grant funding brings more money to your regions. So for example, the County of Fresno, the county applied, the City of Fresno applied, the City of Huron, Mendota, Parlier, Firebaugh, they've got over $3 million that they were able to bring in for funding, not by competing with one another. They adjudicated their boundaries. I encourage all of you not to compete, but actually work together. Make sure you don't overbuild and overlap with each other, but go after all of this money that's available now, because it's not going to be there forever.
Thanks, Joy. I think that's a great note to end it on. And remind you that Broadband Consortium is here to help coordinate those efforts. And if we can connect you or support or uplift in any way, please be sure that you reach out to us. And with that, I guess we will stop this recording, and thank you all for being here. I'll send a follow-up with some of all the many links that were put into the chat today. Thank you all for your participation, and we will see you next time.
Thank you, Shelby.